At first the Muslims were reluctant. You know, these are our rulers, and if we talk too much, if we argue too hard, they might send us to Kalapani, those black waters in the Andaman Islands. Who wants to go there? So keep out of it, keep out of trouble. And we have been emasculated too, to quite a long, great extent. The Muslims, you know, even now you find them all over the world, the Muslims. They're spiritless people, emasculated people, like castrated people. We're waiting for it to be slaughtered. This is the spirit of the Muslim. Any little thing the Muslim does, the Muslim gets terrified. I took out the pamphlet about the Pope and the Muslim gets terrified. Muslim, not the Christian, the Muslim gets terrified. Something has gone wrong with us. But that militancy has gone out of us. So it says, emasculate the Muslim, teach them to turn the other cheek, problem is solved. So now they come into India challenging the Muslims, and the Muslims don't want to debate, so they master our language. So in your language. First the excuse was that we don't know English. So right, it's in your language. And this is the beauty, the greatness of the Westerner. Wherever he goes, he learns the language of the native. Within 3 months, he masters your language and he speaks to you in your language. The Muslim hasn't got that. He comes to South Africa, to Natal, he learns Zulu in 3 months. He speaks to the Zulu in Zulu. He goes to Indonesia, he learns Indonesian. He goes to Arab countries, he learns Arabic. Wherever he goes, he masters your language. You go into somebody foreign country, in 50 years you don't learn his language. And I think an Arab saying goes, "Man ta'allama lughata qawmin amana sharrahum." If you learn the language of a people, you will be able to avoid their vials, save yourself from their machinations. I'm able to do that to a great extent now. See, born in India as a Britisher over 60 years ago, British subject. I have a British passport. When I was 9 years old, I know how many of you are Britishers for more than 60 years. I am. Not having seen an Englishman in my life, up to the age of 9, I go to South Africa, and now I'm coming to the hub of the British metropolis and speak to him in his language and tell him, "Now come sir, talk to me, reason with me in his language." And he can't get away with it because I understand his language, what he's talking about. So I can ask him, "Excuse me sir, will you please explain what is to beget in your language, because I know what it means. I want you to tell me, I want you to open your mouth." So, mastered our language and challenged the Muslims to public debates. Now, the Muslims had no excuse. The young men tell the elders, they said, "Look, Saab, you know, ये तो हमारी ज़बान के अंदर हमारे साथ बहस करने मांगता है. This guy wants to debate with us in our language. How can we say no now?" So Maulana Abdul Aziz of Delhi, he was forced to take up the challenge. And there was a reverend founder from England who was taking a lead in that debate expedition. And according to the appointed time and date, the debate starts. And I'm told in the book, I'm reading this in the book, that 100,000 people gathered at that great meeting. I don't know how voice was carried those days. But somehow the people loved it, they enjoyed it. Even if they didn't hear, they could see what's going on at a distance. 100,000 people gathered. And the Reverend began, Reverend Paul. So he began by requesting the Maulana. He said, "Maulana Sahib, respected learned man, please get started." So the Maulana Sahib reasons. He says, you are our elder brother. Christianity precedes Islam by 600 years. As such, you are our elder brother, and according to our culture, you have the first choice. Secondly, you are our guest. No doubt an unwelcome guest, but a guest at that. So as such, according to our culture, you have the first preference. So the Reverend was forced to begin. And he began with a question. He says, "Maulana Sahib," in Urdu, "where is your Prophet Muhammad now?" Your Prophet, where is he now? So the Maulana thought for a moment, and he said, "He is in Jannatul Firdaus with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He is in blessed heaven with God Almighty." Out of that answer came the second question. He said, all right. You say he was in heaven. He's in heaven. Where was he when his grandson Hussein was martyred at Karbala? Where was he then? So again the Maulana thought for a moment, and he replied, he was still in Jannatul Firdaus with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in blessed heaven with God. Where was he then? So again the Maulana responds that he was in Jannatul Firdaus with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Out of that answer came the third question. Out of that answer came the third question. He said, all right, if he was with his Allah in heaven when his grandson Hussein was martyred at Karbala, butchered at Karbala, didn't he ask his Allah for help? Didn't he ask his Allah for help? So there was a long pause. And the Reverend started beating his feet. He said, come on. Didn't he ask his Allah for help? If you have a big brother like this, and if somebody comes bullying me, haven't I got the right to say, brother, come, please, save me. Didn't he ask Allah for help? So after a long pause, the Maulana says, yes, he did. So what did he say? What did Allah say? Because we know he wasn't saved. And there was an inordinate pause. So the priest started beating his feet once more again. Come on. So the Maulana and the people felt the battle is gone, battle is lost. Maulana ne humko mara diya. Khalas, he's finished that. Come on. So the Maulana said, Allah began to cry. So what? Allah cried? He said, yes, Allah cried. He said, I couldn't save my own son, Jesus. How can I save your grandson? And the battle was over. You see, it was a matching of the wits. It was a matching of the wits. It has nothing to do with truth or falsehood. See, you try to be clever, you try to catch him out, he catches you out. Catch as catch can. You know that you do in wrestling. There's all in wrestling, there's catch as catch can. This is intellectual catch as catch can. Catch the other fellow out, he's trying to catch you out. But since then, the Christians have evolved different systems. They're sophisticated. They're more sophisticated now. So they come into this, the verse I quoted you from Surah Maryam. So they have tried to find fault with the Quran. They tried to find fault with the Quran. Previously, they were attacking Islam, the holy prophet of Islam. Attacked him, attacked Islam, attacked the Quran. And they found that they couldn't get a honey with that. So they changed their methods. They are master psychologists. They are in the field for at least 300 years. They are doing the job. They know psychology. So they tried different methods. Now they write books by the Orientalists. So they write, it says Mohammed was a sincere man, but a false prophet. See, he was a sincere man, but a false prophet. They would say that we find no deliberate deception on the part of Muhammad. Muhammad didn't deliberately deceive anybody. But poor man, he was illiterate. He didn't know what he was doing. So inadvertently he was deceiving the people. We find no deliberate deception on his part. Now they study the Quran. And they're taking us to task. They're forcing us to study the Quran. You know that? So from Surah Maryam, we read there, the birth of Jesus. After the Annunciation, she goes away to a remote place in the east, and when the child is born, she returns with the babe. As the Quran says in Surah Maryam, I think verse 23, it says, فَأَتَتَ بِهِ قَوْمَهَا تَحْمِلُهُ. At length, she brought the babe to her people, carrying him in her arms. قَالُوا يَا مَرْيَمُ لَقَدْ جِئْتِ شَيْئًا فَرِيًّا. They said, the Jews, they said, "Oh Mary, truly an amazing thing has thou brought. Ya ukhta Haruna, O sister of Harun, ma kana abuki imra'a sawin wa ma kanat ummuki baghiya." Says, your father was not a man of evil, nor thy mother a woman unchaste. They are insinuating, how is it that you brought this child without a husband? We know you are not married. Alleging that this child is illegitimate. Your father was a good man, your mother was a good woman, and now you bringing this child, being an unmarried girl. What is she to do? She knows that this was no ordinary child, So, as Allah says, فَأَشَارَتْ إِلَيْهِ, but she pointed to the babe. Ask him. And by miracle, Hazrat Isa alayhi salam spoke according to the Quranic tradition. He said, قَالَ إِنِّي عَبْدُ اللَّهِ. So most certainly I am the servant of Allah. آتَانِيَ الْكِتَابِ. He has given me revelation. وَجَعَلْنِي نَبِيًّا. And he has made me, and so on and so forth. But now, the Christians are reading this. The Quran, they're reading and studying the Quran. And they are posing us questions, problems. See, I was delivering a lecture in Johannesburg. At the end of it, Christian mission